Hello and good morning, everyone. So, we're gonna talk about family system therapy. In 1950s, a number of researchers who were working independently began to look at schizophrenia as an area where the family influence might be connected to the development of psychotic symptoms. The effort of Boston or Palo Alto or in California, as also they are the group that and also lead project at Yale, and Bowen and Wint, an Institute of Mental Health lead, two researchers discovered of the family therapeutic value of seeing family members together. The history and theoretical framework of family system therapy. So we begin to understand what is family system therapy. So it is a branch of psychotherapy that works with the familial system to nurture change and development. So why it is needed? We are all born with the families that thought we are autonomous individual. This is lifelong attachment from all of us. Understanding the individual through assessing their interaction with family members is beneficial to us as a person and also as a family as well. In a client's problem maybe not be the symptoms of what is going on or just for the client, but it may be the symptom of how the family system function. For example, sometimes we forgot that the family is part of who we are as a person. They are the first fundamental of the learning of ourselves. So in a family determines who we are as a person, how we develop, how we given and receive support for survival. We as a family members, we are helping together to learn more to how to survive on how we develop as a person or what kind of aspect of person we are. So what's make it different o unsa talaga yung family system? So family system always focus in family, its members, interaction and relationship. So sa family system kasi they always focus on your dynamic as a person inside the family on how you involve the intervention to alter entire family system. Kasi sometimes as a family mayroon tayo different kind of set of ideas pero in family system therapy they guide us on how we deal with kind of different ideas na maging isa yung pamilya nato. The problems diagnosis is circular consulting roles each person play in maintaining a problem. So sometimes the parents, the children are both helping to one another to understand more on their dynamic on how did they deal with that problem as a family as well. In Webster Dictionary, family defined as a group of people who are first bound by philosophical, religious, or other conviction. Second, have a common ancestry. Third is living under the same roof and basic biological unit of society, having a nucleus two or more adults living together and cooperating in the care and reacting their own or adopted children. So family is composed by three components: parent, children, and their dynamic. So theory and family. So in definition, system is organized unit made up the interdependent part. Whole unit are God greater than the sum of its part. Changing any part affect all other part. The family system is which each member have significant influence to one another or one other members. So, technically speaking, family or a system is like a car. Dili mag-function ang car if dili mo gana yung wheels or something like that. So, system is more on siya, systematic siya kung they are working together to become one unit. Family may be struggle to find healthy balance between two extremes. Enmeshment over the involvement of each other life or disagreement or too much detachment from one another. So kanang from for example they are struggling to find for example the parents are very over to you or very controlling. Mo na siya yung is enmeshment, disagreement, and more on neglecting you, bahala ka na dyan sa buhay mo. Mo na siya sometimes the struggle with struggle of family to find healthy balance to you need to recognize this too. So the core concept for the family system therapy is wholen, or meaning as a whole or satanan, family boundaries, family homocysteine, family projection processes, and also family system. It's involved also the family therapy, feedback loops, and triangulations as well. This is also involves some other fundamental concept like family rules, per se rules or boundaries of permissible behavior. The rules maybe not be verbalized but are understood by the all family members. The rules regulate the help stabilize the family system. Like for example, sa ato there as a Filipino, especially sa night, bawal na parang bawal lumabas kapag anid na time. Parang sa inyong family is very differ. For example, sa among family, 10 o'clock dapat na ka na sa balay. Mao na siya yung unspoken rule sa family namo dere. So and also the family narrative assumption also. It's believed that about the family shared by the family members. Some see the world as a friendly, ordinary, or predictable place in which they can function completely. Others see the world as threatening, unstable, and unpredictable, therefore as dangerous. The family story links center extremely into sequence of just how many their life they do. So sometimes we always believe bitaw sa ato family may mga naata mga beliefs na nakatabang or minsan nakapekto sa ato. For example, like kanina sa example na ako sa bawal na lumabas sa 10:30. So sometimes family members sabi nila na because may mga aswang dira o something na to avoid dangers gihapon na makaka-affect sa imong safety as a person in the group o sa imong pamilya para di na gyapon mag-worry sila. Also, Goldenberg also emphasized the pseudo-mutuality and pseudo-honesty. They fade the togetherness and make understand conflict and collection of quarrels that is supranational tactic for avoiding deeper issue. So for example, ano lang, it teach us how to be honest and mature sa what we gonna do or what we gonna say sa atong pamilya para dili siya makapikto sa tua. So, justification as an effort to observe family, natural family, conflict by a disturbing experience, conduct one's person to perception and repeat experience to lead the person to question reality. So also the scapegoating, reflect the conflict by holding one person responsible to whatever goes wrong. For example, si Kuya, sa scapegoating is more on ano siya, si kuya may sala, parang kani ang may sala, parang pointing one finger to another person. This is the other fundamental concept of family system therapy. Like kanina, family rules, family narrative and assumption, spoke the maturity and spoke the honesty, justification and spoke goating. Sorry. So in family system, we always talk about the source of the problem and how does change occur. So in what is the source of the problem, we talk about the problematic behavior has functioned in the family and is often nationally and supporting by the family processes. This is behavior developed from the inability of a family operate perspective, and also it can be the symptoms of transgenerational dysfunctional pattern. So in thus also the change occur is working with the entire family relationship and not just individual, but change can occur also through cognitive, behavioral, and even emotional means. Family system therapy is focused on in in general is focused on family can be defined according to the individual closeness, emotional connection. Basically, yung family niya focus on how the dynamic of each person in the family interaction as well. Is maintain the relationship therapy is more the proper term the family therapy since many principle and apply in relationship in general. So this is the difference between individual therapy and systematic approach. So individual, we all know this that counseling as a one lang person, one ano lang, therapy to one person. But the family system more on siya sa dynamic as a family. So in individual therapy, more on focus siya sa diagnostic, sa being therapy immediately or dapat diretsyo na lang dahil sa therapy, focus on causing and purpose, as well as cognitive, emotional, and behavioral processes. Be concerned with individual experience and perspective, and also the intervention are based on coping. However, in family system, it explore the family dynamic, invite family members into therapy, focus on how the family relationship to one another, and also be concerned with the transgenerational generational and other cultural and community perspective. The intervention are based on context kung unsa yung idea sa as a whole as a person o as a family na kung unsa yung different idea point of view nila sa ilahang kana family. So dira magkuha ng intervention. So now we're gonna talk about the founder and key influencer. This is the most famous kanang quote sa family system or the therapist like Salvador and Virginia. So Salvador Canichin said, "I describe family value our responsibility toward other, increase of tolerance, compromise, support, and flexibility, and also an essential things can I call silent of the life. Continued process of mutual accommodation without life is impossible." So describe niyang iyang ano na we need to adjust sa atong family whether we like it or not. So sa point of view naman ni Virginia Sutter, it is clear that to me that the family is the microsome of the world. To understand the world, we can study the family. Issues as power, intimacy, autonomy, trust, and communication skill are vital part to underlying how we live in this world. To change the world is to change the family. So saying that family is kanang world is composed with family. So we need to understand first the family in order to help the world. So this is the timeline of development of family system therapy. First, the list is Alfred Adler. They emphasize the birth order. The family often become locked in repetitive negative interaction. Next to him is Rudolf Dricker, refine Adler concept and create the organized approach. Next to it is multi-generational by Murray Brown. He worked on the schizophrenia and the differentiation of self. Next to it is Virginia Sutter by her human validation processes that emphasize the importance of communication and meta communication, and also the value of therapeutic validation in processes of change. Next to it is Carl Whitaker, experimental family therapy. Emphasize the stress choice, freedom, self determination, growth, and actualization. He state that it was a personal involvement of the therapist with the family made a difference. The structural therapeutic family or strategic family therapy by Salvador McCain and G. Halley is seek to recognize that the functional or problematic structure in family and also the recent intervention gihapon sa client traits to experience their own life. So this is Mario Bowen. So in is multi-generational therapy. So he is American who created one of the first comprehensive theory of the family system functioning that emphasized the theory and insight over action and technique. His classic text is Family Therapy in Clinical Practices. His basic principle is he believed that family is to be an emotional unit where any family or any changes in the emotional functioning of one member affect emotional functioning to another. The role of the therapist is to serve as a guide to some who is the objective of research. It's very difficult to summarize or there's theory in sentence of two. So in More Bowen, he focused on how family member could maintain the healthy balance between being immersed and being disengaged. He believed that each member should have the individuality identity while maintaining the closeness with the family. Bowen also the therapy also involved the sponsal relationship are able to different themselves as individual part from the from the couple. It means that dapat mayroon kang sense of owning or kanang sense of identity sa imong sarili. Also lead to differentiation of self, the ability to separate thoughts from the feeling, struggle to develop identity and remain the part of the family as well. So it's meaning lang na kanang you have sense of awareness sa imong feeling and thought na you know what it is or what you said o unsang imong hunahuna. So also more Brown also uh, highlight also the differentiation of self or meaning if you have highly differentiated better at handling stress and anxiety because you know what your capability and unsa imong mga skill and limitation as a person as an individual inside the family. Increasing the differentiation by one family member is likely to lead others to member to become more differentiated as well. Parang follow the leader, parang ganun ba? Self-differentiation is a principal goal of the family therapy. So I think more on understanding each person not as a group but in individual aspect nila. So Bowen also emphasized the deregulation of self from family emotional system. So regulation is referred to practice so family member bring a third into their conflict. So it means that family is like a triangle may na sa up, down, and side na helping one another to understand more on their emotional state and how develop them. So he emphasized also the nuclear family emotional processes. They emphasize the emotional distress, distance, problem of transferring blame. Family projection processes how the parents pass good and bad things onto their children. Multi-generational transmission processes in how family passes badges from one generation to the next. So, ang family projection processes i-focus siya sa how we as a parents pass our good things onto their children kung unsa mga good habit and bad habit that we learn kasi as the parents kayo yung pinaka example nila kung what is bad and wrong din sa kalibutan but also multi-generational transformation processes basically yung mga inyong mga belief and norms sa inyong family kung unsa nyo ituuhan as a family long before sa inyong kanang generation to generation sa imong lola to lolo pangadto sa imong mama papa karon until it came to you. One also the Moribund also therapy is the sibling position like Ken Adler. Birth order are extreme, they function. The problem was same birth order Mary. So emotional process in society and genogram, general map of family. Example this in married, birth, death, education, work life, or ethic, organism, politics, religion, relationship. Moreover, talaga yung ano bitaw, dapat, for example, ano, di ba sa Filipino culture, siguro ingon pa nila na dapat yung panganay una magpakasal before yung mga bunso. So, na siya yung mga idea of generational transformation or processes nila. So the emotional system of family, understand the emotion system and how they work is central of the theory. Again, the achieving a differentiation primary. The modeling differentiation use I statement and talk ownership of own thought, feeling, and belief. So, one also di ba sa atong na-learn sa counseling that dapat you always use I, not we or they. So, permiti lang dapat I yung sa in counseling. Similarly to family system. So we're gonna go to Virginia Sutter, her human validation processes model. This is Virginia Sutter. She is American, widely known as a mother of family therapy. She developed the conjoint family therapy. She was known as the family determinant, believed how nurturance are the most important healing aspect of the therapy. The context classical text niya ni Buhat is conjoint family therapy. The basic principle on emphasize on communication and experiencing emotion as well. Technique are secondary relationship that a therapist develop with the family. The role of therapist is that act on nurturing and teacher like a teacher or facilitator within the kanang pag ano na niya sa therapy. The therapist show empathy for the involved. So more on ka ikaw yung pinaka mediator or ikaw yung pinaka concept of guide guide sa family to understand more on their feelings and problem. So the Virginia Sutter human validation processes model is the core technique of this therapy is carrying the acceptance and key element and helping people to face their fear and open up their heart to others. Some techniques are used as touch, communication, sculpting, role playing, and family life psychology. The goal of therapy is to improve relationship and communication within the family unit. The therapy in practice, an example is open discussion with the family members whose family rules are often part of the model. Reason for the rules, validation of the rules, how they lead to greater function and dynamic functional, and discuss it in open way. So Sutter Virginia always focused on nature and nurturing side of people. She believed that people have the nurturing type. He believed that the feeling of self-worth and nurturing of people na he viewed human nature as a people are rational and ability to give choices or making choices as well. So next is Carl Whitaker on his experimental family therapy. This is Carl Whitaker. He is American. He relied on personal and development as a varying interaction approach. Pioneer use to therapists maintain an objective. His classical text is Family Beautiful by Will and Whitaker. The basic principle is achieve the person involvement by caring therapists who put pressure on the processes progress change in family dynamic. Also, the design of increasing clients' awareness of inner potential and open channel family interaction. So, in his therapy, the role of therapists are achieve the participant a coach, more on siya sa coaching, can be fundamental and mastering present and create new meaning, support spontaneously and creatively. The core technique is no set method. Techniques are arise from interviewed as spontaneous relationship processes and situation. Education systems are often viewed as a modeling of a person intervention, a person confirmation. The goal of therapy is to facilitate individual autonomy, which refines the sense of belonging in the family, helping individuals achieve more intimacy by increasing their awareness. Also, he emphasized also the goal of the therapy is to encourage members to to the be themselves by freeing experience whatever takes to feeling. The therapy in practice and examples in order to understand family dynamic. A therapist who participates in experimental family therapy would not be the problem being blunt, asking the wife why she can choose to marry his stable husband. So the last one is Salvador Marchini, structural family therapy. This is him. He is the Argentinian notice and he noticed the two patterns common to troubled family, the enmeshed system and the disengaged system. The famous classic text is Family and Family Therapy. The basic principle in his therapy is the family are structured in subsystem with boundaries. The symptoms are byproduct of structural failing. The roles of therapy is to help the family modify stereotypical pattern and refine relationship and among the family members. The structural family therapy goal is to alter family the structure and empower the functional family to move toward functional family communication. The functional family characterized by each member success in finding the healthy balance between belonging to the family and maintaining a separate identity. Also, one of the fine balance between the individual identity and the defined class clarify the boundaries between the subsystem. The boundaries are ranged from rage to defense. The secret is to finding the right boundaries between or the balance there will be defined. The structure of family therapy toward changing the family organizational structure. Salvador Michin is founder of the structural family therapy, leader for the observation of family. He wrote the Families of the Slum in 1967. Salvador Michin also stated that the family boundaries involved in the family gihapon. Like for example, there are yung boundaries between parents to child of child to parents and spouse to their loved ones. So in there, he emphasized the boundaries with who participating or sino yung involved, the parents, the parents, the children, and their relationship to one another. Our areas are also the responsibility dapat intact, the rules also in sa balay. The decision making kung sino yung involved, like decision making sa partners, sa parents, parenting, and their children as well. And also the important part of boundaries involved privacy sa as the parents toward children and children to their parents as well. Family member behavior can only understood within the family context. Halley in 1973, the therapist anticipate the happen in therapy and planning of solving each problem. The paradoxal intervention, hardness, strong distinction client have changed and taking therapist directively. The directedness. The therapist use assistance and to bring about children and repair family system. So the first strategic family therapy, the first order of change, the symptom temporarily remove. For example, kung unsa ila problema sa ila balay, dapat i-set aside usa na. The second, the symptom system and system are repaired. So ibig sabihin ani that after the know kung unsa yung mga symptoms o ilang mga problem inside their family, they gonna fix it in order to repair the system o ilang mga rule regulations sa within the family sa ilang panimalay. So this is a team approach or common intervention for solution o focus brief family therapy. Sa first nimo sa imong session is sa 40 minutes nimo dapat interview with family yung kuha na yung mga idea, concept, symptoms, focus it first and then the 10 minutes in consultation with the team. In strategic family, meron kang co-facilitator or co-therapist that help you and guide you gihapon kung unsa yung mga nalak nila or yung mga symptoms sa ilang you presented in this session. Also, the 10 minutes delivery intervention, ano siya yung time na you give some aspect or idea or synthesis para ma-understand nila yung unsa lang problem and symptoms sa ilang family. And then close the session. The structured family therapy also the conduct that promotes safe, voluntary participants, participant less individual strength, and relationship strengthen, enhance three-dimensional state problem, therapist recommend next step, like for social stage, build report and assist. Second is a problem stage, get clear statement of concern. Integration stage, the family indicate. The goal setting, define therapy goal to consist of observable and behavioral terms. The communication approach to family therapy is called the behavioral interview, like therapist and educator, more on the teaching or the mentor. The actual common skill in key problem solving, communicate openly and honestly, match intern and compact communications. This is the stage of Gottman interview. It's about also the family therapy. The stage one is decision to come to the therapy. Stage three the goal for the therapy. Stage three is discuss the problem. Stage four is to select the issue discusses. The stage five we analyze the interaction, the play by play or miscommunication. The last one is negotiation context. Much on how the interview gonna flow sa therapy as a puppy therapy as well. So ihatag na ko ang time kan Miss Sumanda for the continuation.
So, good morning, everyone. For the next topics would be the techniques forming a relationship, conducting an assessment. First is the forming a relationship. Begin relationship right at first moment of contact. Some therapies work with any family members who wish to come. Some will only work with all members. So, at the first moment that you interact with your client, you already processing a relationship towards each other. There is a building up of calmness and trust. So some therapies would allow only individual of the family members to participate, but others therapies also will only work with all members of the family. So next is the conducting and assessment. Genograms, circular questioning, formal tests or scales, select a lens for further inquiry, individual internal family system, theological or goal-oriented, developmental sequences or patterns of interactions, organization, multicultural, process, and gender. So when we say about genograms, it talks about a pictorial display of a person's family relationships, and it is a hereditary patterns and psychological factors. It's just like a graphic representation of a family tree that displays detailed data on relationships among individuals in a medical histories, family, so on that case that you can use that to determine to describe the family, emotional and social relationship towards other. Next is the hypothesizing and sharing meaning. It invokes feedback, seeks permission for disclosure. So it means that would you use a passionate interest and curiosity to ask a question and gather together the subjective perspectives of family members and would honor ideas that individuals brought to their joint understanding. When he had an idea that he wanted to share, he would often seek permission for his disclosure. So next is the facilitating change, the via enactments and via task assignments. So two of the most common forms for facilitation of change are the enactments and assignment of tasks. Both processes work best when the family constructs them with the therapies or at least accepts the rationale for their use. Okay, when we say reenactments, it is used to describe a non-reflect implying out of a mental scenario rather than verbally describing the associated thoughts and feelings. The concept of enactment is usually used to explain the experience of a role assumed during childhood, which is recited on the stage of analysis consulting room. So when say also a VIA test assignment, it talks about that you assign them an assignment like that they can relate with and cooperate each other as a family. So what I have said earlier that genograms is a graphic representation of a family tree that displays detailed data. So right now we're gonna discuss about the 8 lenses or the meta frameworks from which family system can be assessed. So first is the individual internal family system lens. First is the views individual as a system with structure, organization, and subsystems. So common subsystems include parents, siblings, and parent-child relationships. Subsystems are defined by boundaries which indicate each subsystem is distinct from the larger system as well as from other subsystems, while still recognizing their interrelatedness. Such boundaries not only define the members of the subsystem but also the rules of interaction between those members. For example, the rules that govern exchanges between the parents differ from the rules that govern exchanges between the siblings or exchange between the parents and children. Um, then it has an own beliefs, viewpoints, interests, rules, and other awareness. The assumption is that every part has good intention, even though not everything they do for us is always helpful. We have an in their innate number of parts and they express themselves in unique ways through feelings, physical sensation, thoughts, images, and words. So some dimensions are enhancing while some destructive. Parts are strengthened or developed by social interaction and experience. When parts become polarized, individuals experience conflict. How does each person describe who he is or who she is? Next is the theological goal-oriented lens. So it develops an understanding of what motives individual behavior, the purpose of pattern interactions. In individual and families act purposefully. Some actions promote growth while some constrain growth. What purpose is being served when the children interact with their parents in the way they do? So overall, from the word itself, it's a goal oriented to have a successful family therapy. You should set goals in what you want to achieve and when you will achieve it. So next is the sequences or patterns of the interaction lens. So family life is ordered and family members tend to interact in sequences that are repeated over time. Adapted sequences develop in cooperative and fair environments, while maladaptive sequences develop in rigid ones where change is resisted, but routines support the daily living of each member of the family. So, sequences is all about one of the defining aspects of a family life is that it is ordered, and if family members tend to interact in sequences that over time are repeated in multiple forms. Um, uh, and then Lin and his colleagues refers to these patterns as embedded sequences, and they occur at multiple levels with the sequences meta framework. So level one is sequences that occur between two or more family members who are face to face. The face to face sequences can be diagrammed as follows, like fathers confronts his daughter. So the daughter enacts hurt and helplessness. So the mother rescues to the daughter. So that's for the level one. So for the level two is the sequences support the functioning of the family and become uh, accepted as routines. These sequences support processes that are typically of the family and tend to be enacted almost daily. Adherents initiated the idea of asking family members to describe a typical day, and this information has become increasingly important for a family therapist working with many different models. Here is some example of the morning routine of one of the families. So father gets up first and wakes oldest daughter. So oldest daughter Nila gets up and gets dressed and feed the dog. So next is the mother gets up and wakes his 3-year-old daughter. So father fixes breakfast for children while mother dresses 3-year-old. Children eat while the oldest daughter fixes lunches while mother and father dress. So the parents grab bag girls, everyone leaves for school and work. In this sequence, individual rules support the smooth process for the whole system. If any part of this routine stops or breaks down, the whole system must adjust. So that's for the level two. So next is the level three sequences. It talks about how to do with the ebbs and flows of life. This much longer sequence often account for family adjustment to outside forces or the developmental changes. The classic living home sequences is an example for strategy therapies. Haley in 1980. So here is the example. So the child who has distracted the spousal couple from their relational problems for many years gets ready to leave for college. Anxiety goes up, and when the young person actually leaves, open conflict, threatening divorce, breaks out. The young person becomes symptomatic at school, requiring a return home, and parental conflicts seems to disappear. When the level 1 and level 2 sequences effectively resolve difficulties, the ebbs and the flows that constitute the process of family change at level 3 also tend to also to find a functional balance. So last is the level 4 sequences are transgenerational. They include sequences that reflect a larger system values and rules about cultural or gender rules. These sequences are passed from one generation to the next and are intended to provide a sense of continuity to life. In our discussion of the case of Stan later in the chapter, you will see how the use of the alcohol has affected the family over this three generation has become part of the family culture. Adapted sequences, it requires leadership that is balanced, fair, and cooperative, while the maladapted sequences is occurs when rules are rigid and inflexible, when parts are polarized, and when change is resisted. Family therapy is often about developing more useful sequences and any or all of these four levels. So that's for the sequences patterns of the interactional lens. So next is the organization lens. In order to provide a sense of unity, individuals and families are organized by rules within expected rules. So balanced family leadership requires the ability to be firm but friendly while setting appropriate yet fair expectation. Are the parents effective leaders of the family? So when we say about the organization lens, the individuals and the family have some organizing process that holds everything together and provides a sense of unity. In family system, organization is manifest in the family rules, routines, rituals, and expected rules. That is the living structure of the family. In the early years of the family therapy is emphasis was given to the concept of the hierarchical structure of the family system, and strategic interventions were designed to establish a more functional hierarchy and to distribute the power in the system toward more productive ends. Balanced family leadership it also requires the ability to be firm but friendly and to set developmental appropriate limits while remaining fair, flexible, and encouraging. In balanced families, individuality and connection to the family are both significant, both fit generational, cultural, and developmental ends. As children get older, balanced leadership shifts to more egalitarian, collaborative stances, and family processes tend to be cooperative, consistency, and caring. In effectively led families, children have a sense of safety, room to grow, and the belief that they are valued. So that's for the organizational lens. So next is the developmental lens. So development lens, it focuses on the family life cycle, which has a significant positions. Single adult leaves home, individuals become a couple has a children and starts a family, children become adolescents, parents prepare for life without children, children now have to care for parents and their own families, trusted to have individual while considering transitional stage, looking for constraints. Where is the family in the family life cycle, and how are they handling transitions? So when we say about developmental dance, it talks about a it talks about a change in inevitable and in its life. And the family therapy growth development are desired to processes. Our belief in development and evolution is optimistic and hopeful. Family therapies address the needs of individuals while simultaneously considering the needs of relationship, the family, and the larger systems. In assessing different levels of a family, therapists look for constraints and seek to remove them so that the natural growth and transition become a possible once again. So next is the multicultural lens. It challenges the reframes dominant culture, looks at the ethnicity, gender, age, religion, race, and discrimination, regional background, etc. What cultures are in the family backgrounds of each of the family members. All of it is talking about the assessment areas produce a phenomenological meaning that may be different for each member of a family as well as for the therapist. Acknowledging areas of fit and areas of difference is a foundational for most therapeutic processes. In Stan's family, the multi-generational relationship with alcohol may be based in a particular cultural expectation about the use and abuse of this substance. And Irish family values on the issues that differ significantly from those of the Arab family. For example, family therapists must view each family through the appropriate multicultural lens um, in their work. So next is the gender lens. So address the power position and that are part of the hierarchical structure of families. Next is the challenges in equal status and treatment of women. What gender role is each member of the family assuming? So when we talk about gender lens, the oldest and the most pervasive discrimination and oppression in the world is against women in all cultures. And with a few exceptions across the human lifespan, the feminists have challenged not only the fundamental precepts of a family therapy, but also the idea that the family itself is a good for a woman. Women still bear the largest responsibility for and most of the work related to child rearing, keeping, homemaking, and community involvement. Financially, women tend to earn less than men in corporate positions, even when women earn significant wages. They may not have much say in how the family finances are spent between a man and a woman. The woman is more likely to be expected to sacrifice herself for the good of the whole. So next is the process lens. Examine where the families are in the flow of life and the process of change. When routines are interfered with, the result is disruption to the body system, which can lead to state of chaos in the family. Therapy serves as external resources with a primary responsibility to help individuals reconnect with their strengths. Where is the family in the process of change? It says that what is happening between people, the process of communication is essential to experiential models of the family therapy. The meaning of any communications is contained within the meta communication. How we communicate contextualizes what we have to say. Process is also about our movement through significant events in life. Clarity of process tells us where we are and delineates we are likely to go. It allows the therapist and the family to examine where they are in the flow of life, the process of change, and the experience of therapy. So the next is the means of the family. Myths of the family therapy. Myth 1. Family therapy is only for married people and families, which is not true. It works with individuals too, because a relational contact is formed. The myth 2 is therapy goes on forever. It is not true. It is usually the solution focused and approved by nature. Usually, it depends on the family if they want to cooperate. It can easily uh, to finish their therapy. Next is the myth 3. Myth 3 is therapy is only for people with serious issue. It is not true. It's false because for with families who are at routine constitutional roadblock as well. So it means that the therapy is also for the family who seems to result and no change or improvement in their family mood or how they treat each other, like there is no improvement at all. So next is the myth 4. Every problem that you bring to the therapy must be solved. It's not true because the most issues in clients come to therapy need to be dealt with tolerance to 69%. Success comes with finding solution to solvable problems. So next is the strengths and limitations. Strengths and limitations. Strengths So strength is applicable and generalizable across cultures. Provide a space for a family to address the conflict in a healthy manner. A holistic approach that doesn't place the blame on any single individual. The entire family is empowered through the process involved. So strength, the form of diversity of perspective. One of the strengths of the systematic perspective in working from a multicultural framework is that many ethnic and cultural groups place great value on extended family. If therapists are working with an individual from a cultural background that gives a special value to including the grandparents, the aunts, and the uncles in the treatment, it is easy to see that the family approaches have a distinct advantage over individual therapy. Family therapists can do some excellent networking with members of the extended family. So, so the limitations, confidentiality. Practically avoiding a time when all members of a family can meet can be time consuming. Of course, if they don't want or if di sila ganahan mo cooperate, time consuming jud na siya. There will be a purpose na di sila magka-okay sa family. Next is the definition of family can make it hard to limit who needs to be in therapy. Like for example, maglisod kag ingon kung kinsay part sa mga family. For example, if like nakoy kapuy na kasi sa mong house, unsa ba matawag siya? It's a family member ba? And like part pa siya sa family, like Amore itself. Like something like that. Uh, Next is that has a potential to escalate the purpose if not contacted properly or if it's not sufficiently trained. Of course, if not the therapist is not like the siya tarong pagka facility or process so sa ka family therapy wala jud na siya kabaguhan towards sa iyang kuan ng assistant because yeah she is not conducting properly then wala kay siya kay proper training for that. So therapists need to be aware of own cultural biases. So the therapist should knows and to be aware of the biases because we have different biases. So we should know about that thing. So that's all. Thank you.
So now we're
Next.
gonna watch family system therapy in action.
You talk is another technique I used with the mother and the father and two teenagers. New talk is a way of getting family members to say something different to each other and get them more on a personal level. Now, I did it with the father this time because what he was saying to his 15-year-old daughter was sort of meaningless to her, I thought, and something he had said many times before. You know, I noticed that when you talk to Beckett, it seems sometimes to go in one ear and out the other. It's like she hears you, but she doesn't pay, the words don't register. I set it up by guaranteeing, if you noticed, that she will listen. That's just a little attention getter, sets the stage, and motivates the father to attempt to say something new to his daughter. Anything's okay, as long as he hasn't said it before. I'd like for you to try something with me, Fred. I will guarantee she will hear you this time. I don't make many guarantees in this business, but this is one of them. You willing to try something with me? I guarantee she'll hear you.
Okay.
All right? Say something to Beckett you've never said to her before. Anything's okay, as long as it's new.
Yeah. I know that you can be so very, very good at anything you do. That's what surprises me.
Have you heard this before, Beckett?
Sort of.
I've noticed that parents, when you get them to do this with children, will sometimes squirm a little and wait a while because it's kind of difficult. So when they look at me and say, well, this is too difficult, I've told her everything, I say, take your time. So I keep the silence and the pressure there because I want them to reach a new and more personal level. Then say something to her you haven't said before. She said she sort of heard that. Say something else. Anything's okay.
It works both ways.
Have you heard that before, Beckett?
Yeah.
And try again, Fred.
Your actions don't exactly tell me that you care about how I feel about you.
Have you heard that before, Beckett?
Yes.
Okay,
But you're the parent.
excuse me, you've got to say something new. Something she hasn't heard before.